My name is Camila. I'm 27 years old. And for the past 5 years, I've been the one quietly holding my family together, paying the bills, doing the grocery shopping, and covering rent without a word of thanks. I lived in the same house with my mother and my younger sister, Myra. On the outside, people thought we were a normal, loving family. But behind closed doors, things were different. My mom always favored Myra. She treated her like a princess, buying her clothes, defending her when she messed up, and blaming me if anything went wrong. Still, I didn't complain. I had a good job working in online sales, and I liked being independent. I didn't need anyone's help. I thought if I just stayed quiet and took care of things, everything would stay peaceful. But I was wrong. One evening, I came home from work and felt something strange. My locker, the one I kept in my closet with my personal documents and savings, had been opened. Nothing looked broken, but something felt off. I opened it and quickly checked the envelope where I kept some emergency cash.
Gone.
All of it. $20,000. I froze. My chest tightened. I knew I didn't move that money. No one else had the key except me. Or so I thought. At dinner, I sat quietly, watching my mom and Myra laughing like nothing had happened. And that's when a terrible thought crossed my mind. What if someone gave Myra the key? I didn't have proof yet, but deep down, I already knew. Something inside me changed that day. The next morning, I woke up early and started checking every detail. I searched my room again. No sign of forced entry. I even double-checked my bag, my keychain, everything. The only way someone could have opened that locker was with my key. And suddenly I remembered. About a week ago, I had left my handbag on the dining table for a few minutes while I went to the kitchen. Myra was home that day. She had been acting strangely sweet, asking me what I wanted for dinner and pretending to help with the laundry. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now it all made sense. Later that afternoon, when Mom and Myra were both in the living room, I decided to speak up. My voice was calm, but firm. "I know the money is gone," I said. "And I know when you took it." They both looked at me, pretending to be confused. "What are you talking about?" Myra said with a fake laugh. "Why would we take your money?" I stared straight at my mom. "Did you give my locker keys to her?" Her face changed. For a second, she looked shocked. But then she crossed her arms and said coldly, "Even if I did, this is our house. Don't act like everything belongs to you." I blinked. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother, my own mother, was defending theft. Not only that, she acted like I had no right to be upset. "I saved that money. I worked hard for it," I said. My voice started to shake. "And I raised you," she snapped. "You live here for free. Don't forget that." That was the moment I lost it. For free? I laughed. "I've been paying the rent, the utilities, the groceries for years. You haven't spent a dime on this house." There was silence. She didn't deny it. Instead, she stepped forward and said something I'll never forget. "If you don't like it here, you can pack your bags and leave." She thought she was threatening me. But what she didn't know was she had just set me free. I didn't say another word. There was no point arguing with someone who saw love as control and loyalty as weakness. I walked to my room and quietly shut the door. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just started planning. By the next morning, I had a plan in place. I opened my laptop, logged in to every account: rent, electricity, internet, groceries, and gas. One by one, I canceled every auto payment tied to my name. I called my bank and transferred what little savings I had left into a new account they didn't know about. Then I started packing. I didn't take everything, just what mattered: clothes, laptop, documents, a few personal items. The rest I left behind. I didn't want anything tied to that house anymore. Not the memories. Not the weight. Not the guilt. I booked a small studio apartment across town. It wasn't big or fancy, but it was mine. Quiet, clean, peaceful. And most of all, it was free from the people who had taken so much from me and acted like I owed them more. I didn't say goodbye. I left a short note on the kitchen counter. "You said I should leave, so I did. Good luck paying the bills." And then I walked out. For the first time in years, I felt light, like a chain had been cut from my ankle. I turned my phone off and spent the weekend setting up my new place. Hanging a curtain, buying cheap furniture online, even cooking myself dinner for once, without someone criticizing me. It was peaceful. Too peaceful. Until 4 days later, when my phone buzzed back to life, and the chaos came flooding back. The moment I turned my phone back on, the screen lit up with over 30 missed calls, all from my mom and Myra. Voicemails, texts, even a few from unknown numbers. At first, I ignored them. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding the phone like it might explode. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened the most recent voicemail from my mom. Her voice was shaking, not with sadness, but with rage. "You think you're smart walking out like that? The gas is cut off. We haven't had electricity for 2 days. The landlord is threatening eviction. Do you know what you've done to this family?" I didn't even flinch. In fact, I felt calm because I knew exactly what I had done. I had stopped being their unpaid servant. Next came a text from Myra. "Are you happy now? Everything is falling apart. We can't live like this. Mom is losing it. You need to come back and fix this." I almost laughed. For years, they treated me like I was invisible. Now, they couldn't survive a week without me. But their messages weren't apologies. They were demands. I didn't reply. By the end of the week, they started calling from new numbers. Then came the final text that changed everything. "You think this is over? Dad left that house to Mom, not you. You'll regret leaving." It stopped me cold. Dad, he passed away 3 years ago. A quiet man, not the type to stir drama. But I always suspected he had left something behind. Maybe a will, maybe not. I had asked once and Mom snapped. There was nothing, just bills. But now I wasn't so sure. Something told me that text wasn't just a threat. It was a mistake. They had said too much. And if they were hiding something, I was going to find out. The next morning, I called Mr. John, my dad's old lawyer. I hadn't spoken to him since the funeral, but I still had his number saved. My voice trembled a little as I introduced myself. "Camila," he said, surprised. "I've been meaning to reach out to you." That caught me off guard. "Why?" He sighed. "There's something we never got to finalize. Your father left a will, a clear one. But your mother insisted on handling everything privately and said you had agreed to let her settle things." "What?" I sat up straight. "I never even saw a will. I didn't sign anything." "I thought so," he said quietly. Asterisk, your father left the house in your name. Entirely. He told me, that girl has carried more weight than anyone. She deserves peace." I couldn't breathe for a second. The house was mine all along. But my mother had kept it from me, on purpose. She lied, tricked the lawyer into thinking I was fine with her handling the estate, made sure I never saw a single document. Mr. John promised to send me a copy of the will and help me take legal action to claim ownership. As soon as I hung up, I sat still for a long time, letting it all sink in. They stole my money, lied to me, threatened to throw me out, but they were living in my house. That night, I emailed Mr. John all the proof I had, messages, bank payments, utility records. He said it was more than enough to reopen the case. 2 days later, I filed for legal ownership of the house. My mother and sister had no idea what was coming. 3 weeks later, I stood in front of the courthouse, clutching a folder of documents that could change everything. The sky was gray, the kind that makes everything feel more serious. Mr. John met me on the steps, calm and confident. He had already filed the ownership petition and included the original will, the false statements made by my mother, and proof that I had been paying the bills the whole time. "This is more than just a case," he told me. "It's a statement." Inside the courtroom, my mother and Myra sat together at the front, looking tense. The moment Mom saw me, her face turned cold. "You think this is going to work?" she hissed under her breath. "You're going to destroy your own family?" I didn't respond. I just sat beside Mr. John. I waited. When the judge began reviewing the documents, the room went quiet. The will clearly stated that my father had left the house solely to me. There was no confusion, no missing signature, just one undeniable fact. My mother had hidden this from me and illegally claimed the property. Then came the financial records. All the bills were in my name. Payments I had made for years. Even rent that had been disguised under Mom's name was actually withdrawn from my bank account. The judge looked up from the papers and asked my mother, "Can you explain why your daughter was never informed of this will?" My mother fumbled. She didn't want it. She said it was too much responsibility. "I never said that," I interrupted calmly. That was the moment everything broke apart. The judge ruled in my favor. Effective immediately, I was the legal owner of the house. My mother and sister were given 14 days to vacate the property. I walked out of that courtroom with my head high. The battle wasn't over, but the power was finally shifting. And I wasn't done yet. The notice was official. 14 days to leave the house. I didn't go back there during those 2 weeks. I didn't need to. I had no interest in arguing or listening to more fake apologies. But deep down, I knew they wouldn't go quietly. And I was right. On the morning of the 14th day, I arrived with 2 court officers, the official eviction letter, and a locksmith. My heart was racing, but my face stayed calm. I had waited years for this moment, not to get revenge, but to finally be free. As we pulled up to the house, I saw Myra pacing on the porch in her silk pajamas, phone in hand. My mother was inside, watching from the window. She didn't come out. The officer stepped forward and said firmly, "Ma'am, this is a legal eviction. You've been served notice. You need to vacate the premises immediately." Myra's face twisted in disbelief. "You can't do this. This is our house." "No," I said, stepping forward. "It was never yours. You just got away with it for too long." She looked at me like I'd betrayed her, like I was the one who ruined everything. The locksmith got to work changing the locks while the officers gave them 10 minutes to gather essentials. Myra stormed inside, slamming doors and yelling at my mother. I stood on the front lawn, arms crossed, watching years of manipulation unravel in a single morning. When they finally stepped outside with bags stuffed full of clothes and designer shoes, Mom looked me straight in the eyes. "You think you've won?" she hissed. "You'll come crawling back one day." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The front door clicked shut behind me as the locksmith installed the new locks. For the first time in my life, I stood in that house completely alone and fully in control. But what came next was more than just peace. It was transformation. The house was quiet.
No yelling.
No footsteps pacing in the hallway. No one slamming my door at midnight asking for money. Just silence, and the sound of my own breathing. It felt strange at first, but peaceful. Like the house itself had, finally, the house exhaled. After years of tension, it felt like it was breathing again. I walked from room to room slowly, looking at everything with new eyes. This was my home now. Truly mine. Not a place I was borrowing or trying to survive in, but a space I could finally shape however I wanted. The first thing I did was clean. Not because it was dirty, but because I needed to wash away every trace of them. I opened the windows, lit candles, played soft music, and swept through each corner of the house like I was reclaiming it piece by piece. I threw away old curtains, donated furniture that reminded me of bad memories, made a list of what needed fixing, and then I started building. I'd always dreamed of running my own business, something I could do from home. I had experience in online marketing and product sales, and over the years I'd helped other people grow their brands. But now it was my turn. Using the last of my savings, I bought a new desk, a camera, and basic equipment. I turned the extra bedroom into a small studio. I rebranded an old idea I once shelved. A women-run digital boutique that sold handmade accessories, self-care kits, and empowering merchandise. Within a month, I had a name, a logo, and a launch date. Within 3, I had orders. Real ones. People were sharing my content, supporting my story, and asking me how I found the courage to start over. Every package I shipped felt like a step forward, away from the past, and towards something entirely mine. But the real surprise came 6 months later. A knock on my door. A letter in hand. From the court. My sister, Myra, was suing me. I stared at the envelope in my hand, heart pounding. I tore it open slowly, expecting some desperate apology or maybe another bill in my name.
But no.
It was a legal notice. Myra was suing me for emotional damage. According to the letter, she claimed I had unfairly humiliated her, destroyed her mental health, and illegally stole a house her father had meant to leave for the family. I couldn't believe it. After everything she had done, stealing $20,000, lying about the will, living off me for years, she was trying to flip the script and play the victim. I forwarded the letter to Mr. John right away. He called me the next day, laughing softly. "Don't worry, Camila. This case won't last 10 minutes. She has no proof, no standing, and no clue how the law works." Still, I agreed to go through the process, just to end it properly. On court day, Myra walked in with a brand new handbag and a fake sob story. She cried to the judge about how she'd been thrown out onto the street and emotionally scarred by the betrayal of a sister. When it was my turn, I said nothing dramatic. I let the paperwork speak for itself. The official will. Proof she had stolen the $20,000. All the bills I had paid for 5 years. And her own angry text threatening me. The judge looked at her and asked simply, "Do you have any proof this house was ever meant for you?" She stammered, tried to spin a story, but it was too late. The judge dismissed the case immediately. But he didn't stop there. He ordered Myra to pay back the $20,000 she had stolen with interest. She screamed in court. I walked out calmly, my head held high. She thought dragging me to court would bring me down. Instead, it gave me justice. After the court ruling, everything felt still. Not empty, just finally quiet, like my life had been a nonstop storm. And now the skies had cleared. Myra disappeared from my life after the judgment. No more texts, no more fake apologies, no more drama. As for my mother, she never tried to contact me again. I didn't chase after either of them. Some people say family is everything. But I learned something else. Peace is everything. And sometimes, walking away from the ones who hurt you is the bravest thing you'll ever do. My online boutique kept growing. Slowly, steadily, orders came from every state. A few popular creators even shared my products. Soon, I was able to hire 2 part-time helpers. I expanded into skincare kits and custom journals. I even launched a small podcast where I talked about emotional independence, finances, and healing from toxic families. The house, my house, became a place of comfort. A place that smelled like fresh coffee and clean laundry, not arguments and fear. I added plants, warm lights, and every little thing that once felt like a luxury. And on my front door, I hung a small wooden sign, "Built from Peace." It reminded me that I didn't get here by luck or by someone else's help. I got here by surviving, by fighting quietly, and by finally choosing myself. So, if you've ever been told you don't matter, or made to feel like your kindness is a weakness, remember this. The moment you walk away from people who only take, your real life begins. And mine? It's only just getting started.